The East Central Research Foundation and Parkland College were part of a large forage corn study developed by PAMI. The trials included Yorkton, which is our site, Lanigan, Redverse, Outlook, Scott, and Melfort. The objective of the study is to look at the effect of variety, nitrogen rate, and seeding rate on forage corn production. 2016 was only year one of a 3-year study. You'll have to wait a few more years for the official report from PAMI, but I thought I'd share a little of what I observed and what I know from the other sites. Firstly, I must say, I find it quite satisfying to watch corn grow. It is a tall, high-yielding crop. This is our trial at Yorkton, and that's Heather, my summer sidekick. For your reference, Heather is about 5'11". She's also quirky. So, here is the treatment list. The trials looked at 2 high-end varieties of forage corn. The specific varieties varied between sites depending upon the heat units of the location. The second factor looked at the total actual nitrogen levels of 100, 150, and 200 pounds per acre. These levels included what was in the soil plus the added fertilizer. The seeding rates that were compared were 75,000, 100,000, and 125,000 seeds per hectare. Fertilizer was all banded prior to seeding so that there were no seed safety issues. Phosphorus, potassium, and sulfur were also maintained at adequate levels. All trials were precision seeded with this drill. Virtually every plant was evenly spaced. Below me, you can see the resulting plant populations that were achieved with the different seeding rates. These averages are over all treatments and locations. Growing conditions at Yorkton in 2016 were excellent, and Yorkton was among the highest yielding sites. These yields are expressed in dry tons per acre. This table shows the main effects of variety, nitrogen level, and seeding rate for the Yorkton site by itself and then all 6 sites combined together. There were some varietal differences detected, but I don't want to focus on that right now. The yield from all sites combined was responsive to increasing nitrogen level and seeding rate. Yorkton was somewhat more responsive to nitrogen level and seeding rate than the average. Determining whether these are economic responses depends on the assumptions made. For my economic analysis, I've assumed a cost of 40 cents a pound for actual nitrogen and a seed cost of $3.13 for every 1,000 seeds. This is what these high-end corn varieties cost in this study, but you can find cheaper varieties for probably about $2.62 per 1,000 seeds. I found it difficult to assign a value to the corn forage. Corn forage is not readily traded. Manitoba has a nice publication for estimating silage production costs. In this publication, they cite production costs for corn silage as $20.87 per wet imperial ton, if you're just considering the operating costs. If you consider total costs, then the cost of producing a wet imperial ton of corn silage is $31.40. But what is a ton of corn silage worth to you on your farm? What if it's an extra ton of grazing corn? Opinions vary widely. This publication used a farm gate value of $32 per wet imperial ton, which is equal to about $100 per dry metric ton. So remember that $100 per dry metric ton as a base number, because I'm going to talk to you in dry metric tons as that's how the data is presented. I honestly don't know if that value makes any sense for your farm, so I'm going to let you decide what's realistic. I'm going to present the data in terms of break-even values for corn forage on a dry metric ton basis. From that, you should be able to determine what the results would mean for you. This figure shows the yield response in dry tons per acre of corn to increasing levels of nitrogen. The nitrogen level is based on soil available N plus added N. The red line represents the yield response at our Yorkton site, and the green line is the yield response when you combine all 6 sites together. At Yorkton, increasing nitrogen levels from 100 to 150 pounds per acre is likely an economic response, as you would only have to value your corn silage at $25 per dry ton to break even. In other words, increasing nitrogen rate from 100 to 150 cost $20 per acre and provided you with $20 per acre of forage corn if you consider the value of your forage corn only to be $25 per dry ton. If you place a much higher value on your forage corn than $25 a dry ton, then it certainly would be worthwhile fertilizing to 150 pounds per acre of actual nitrogen. Increasing nitrogen rates further from 150 to 200 pounds per acre provided a very modest yield gain and likely wouldn't be considered economical. Forage corn would need to be $250 per dry ton to break even with this increase in nitrogen. The green line shows the responses of all sites combined, which is fairly linear and more modest than the response at Yorkton by itself. The value of forage corn would have to be greater than $95 per dry ton to make any money from increasing nitrogen levels from 100 to 150 pounds. Obviously, it's harder to justify increasing nitrogen levels above 100 pounds when all the sites are considered together. This figure shows a positive yield response from forage corn to increasing seeding rates. The responses are actually slightly curvilinear, so I'll consider the economics of increasing rates from 75,000 to 125,000 seeds per hectare. Corn seed is quite expensive, and increasing the seeding rate by this amount costs $63.36 an acre. This is based on an average price of $250 a bag, with a bag containing 80,000 seeds. At Yorkton, corn forage would have to be valued at more than $86.79 per dry ton to make any money from increasing seeding rate. I suppose this is possible. However, if you look at all the sites combined, you would need to value your corn silage or corn forage at more than $141 per dry ton before increasing seeding rates would start to make you money. This is more unrealistic. Conclusions. Corn produced high yields. Yorkton was 7.41 dry tons per acre, or 21 wet tons per acre at 65% moisture. Increasing nitrogen levels beyond the 100 pounds per acre and seeding rates beyond 75,000 seeds per hectare did statistically increase yields, particularly at Yorkton. However, overall, I don't believe there's a lot of economic incentive to do so, particularly if you're looking at a grazing corn scenario. However, final conclusions are yours depending on the value you place on corn forage. This, I want to remind you, is just a peek at the results. It's the first year of a 3-year study, and forage analysis still needs to be done. The final report will be done by PAMI in several years. Well, that's it for the corn forage trial. Like I said in the beginning, I enjoyed watching it grow. I think Heather did too.